we were leaders of the segment. We were selling maximum cars in that segment ahead of Toyota as well. And we were getting ready to change the interior of the car. Okay. When we launched the car, the interiors of the car were black and grey. In fact, they were dark grey and light grey. And to add to the premium connotation of the car in line with what was available in the market in terms of competition, we wanted to change everything and go to a black interior, okay, with titanium stitching, Raghavendra's language, contrasting stitching in terms of colors that would appeal to people, and that is what we were wanting to do. Reality was, competitive brands were strong and already tapping into the relevant consumer mind spaces, and I'll just take you through what was happening. You had Honda Civic talking through caricature kind of advertising, targeting middle-aged and successful individuals. You had a Toyota Altis, which was looking at successful people, essentially talking about unending miles of envy. You had successful individuals who were standing in the society being the targets for Skoda Laura. Just keep remembering these visuals. Yeah? You had Honda City talking about young, successful executives, talking and actually depicting a very visually a premium interior. If you were to summarize all of it, what I shared with you, you had 4 manufacturers talking about status, success, and individualism. Okay? The message was not what advertising they were doing. They were essentially talking about status and success. 4 manufacturers with 4 different brands talking the same thing. So how do you break through the clutter? Now that's a challenge. Okay? Category was all talking about power, status, and luxury. If you look at all the advertising, there is hardly any dissimilarity. You could replace one car with the other and still the communication would be valid. If you were to take out all this from there and put in the Jetta, it would still look the same. And that's something which is important when you're getting into the category. Therefore, the category codes are relevant and honest. Relevant is rooted in consumer truth, and honest is rooted in deep in the product. This is something that you always have to remember, no matter what you are selling, no matter what you're marketing. Whether you're marketing a small earring, which is from a premium brand, or you're marketing a Lamborghini, or you're marketing a Porsche, you're marketing a Chevy. Whatever you're marketing, these things are extremely important. If you were to look at, you had luxury cars with the Aurora, Jetta, Civic, and Altis, some statements from consumers, and you had performance cars in terms of Scorpio, Swift, and Verna. Now, these are suddenly different segment cars. Why? Because when people were buying cars, it's interesting to note that they were not only looking at a Laura, which is a fairly upmarket car in India, but they were going to as low as a Swift and saying, that's my performance benchmark. So you can imagine from a consumer's perspective, you have a car which is right up there at about 18 to 19 lakh rupees ex-showroom to a car which is down to about 5 lakh rupees ex-showroom. That's his consideration band. So it's never a very narrow consideration band when consumers are looking at real-life products in real-life terms. And that's something extremely important. Trade-off between performance and luxury. In car categories, that always happens. And that's where we were. Luxury sedans were giving luxury, but not performance, and performance sedans were giving performance and not luxury. That's something that we found out when we spoke to all the people, that when they looked at a performance car, they went down to a Swift. When they looked at a luxury car, they went up to a Skoda. So what was it that they were telling us? They were telling us that performance cars don't give you luxury and luxury cars don't give you performance. Okay? Clear gap in the category. How do we create a meaningful space for cruise? By being relevant and honest. Honest is that we were the most powerful car in the category that delivers power without compromising on luxury. And that was an honest statement that we knew was valid for the car. Relevant because it delivers on a tangible need space for the consumer, which was go beyond the perceived trade-off. He had a trade-off in mind, and here was a car that could actually take you beyond the trade-off. And it's not value meets refinements, it's performance meets luxury. So we went away consciously from what we were saying, value to performance meets luxury. And that's exactly what we did when we went to the Back in Black campaign. And I'm going to quickly take you there so that we can have a dialogue. If you look at it, the product truth and the consumer relevance put together in terms of a brand premise, or you call it a promise, or whichever way you call it, we said performance meets luxury is going to be our consideration this year, and that's something that we're going to take it out to the market. In terms of an advertising idea, the idea was to announce new car with black interiors in an impactful way and expressed through our brand tone, which is already established till now, which was impact. And we went to back in black. Supremely quick, incredibly luxurious. And what we did was we chopped the full car from the top, from the front to the rear, and we showed them the engine and the black interiors. Okay, that was a very new, out-of-the-box way of presenting a car. Nobody had actually done this, that they would take away everything which was visual on the car to go inside the car and present what was inside. I think this was one of the most successful brand campaigns that we've had in Chevy in the last 8-10 years of Chevy. We got about 103% increase in our sales after this campaign went out. 103% increase in sales. Nowhere does it talk about pricing, nowhere does it talk about discounting. It's all a visual language that we had created for this car, which actually started paying off rich dividends after this campaign went on air. We struck gold with this one. We put a red car and we said back in black. Consumers ran to the showroom to ask us, why did you put a red car in an ad which says back in black? And our job was done. Our job was done because we could actually show them the insides of the car. All the changes were on the insides of the car and not on the outside. But just a message out to them that we're doing something different actually pulled them into the showrooms. And in all this advertising for 3 years that you've seen, nowhere have we spoken price. Nowhere have we spoken discounts. You still don't know what price it is. And that's something important when you're talking about premium products. You can do discount messaging at the store level. You never do it in your communication. The minute you do one deal on the car in print or any kind of outward-facing communication, you will always discount that. You will always have consumers coming and asking for a discount. When you are consistent with your messaging, you will find that your consumers also speak the same language. The minute you are inconsistent, you will find that your consumers don't understand you, because it's so easy for them to get confused in the market with so many different kinds of advertising going on. So that's something that I always say. Be consistent, be confident, be very clear about what you're marketing, and at the same point in time, be very, very focused and sharp to gauge the reactions of the consumers to whatever you're putting out in terms of your messaging. Sometimes it can work for you, and a small belief in something that you think is right can sometimes go wrong in the market. So you've got to be very, very perceptible to what the consumers are saying, and accordingly take it out into the market. I have a truckload of stuff, and I can continue to go on and on. I love to speak about cars. But what we'll do is we'll now make it interactive. You can ask me questions which are relevant, specific, sharp. Keep them around cars because I can answer them confidently. Sure. Yes, I can already see a couple of hands going up. Yes, go ahead.
Sir, when you talk about the luxury segment,
yes.
I mean, what other cars do that they have a single specification and they target on the same thing for positioning in the market. Mm-hmm. But we have completely different kind of thing. Like when you're talking about automatic thing, you are given a complete thing that you are given a tagline like hands off. When you're talking about the fuel, you are talking about that diesel rocket around.
Yeah.
Sir, is it the way you are positioning your car in the market, or it's for something else? I mean, what is the motive behind the presenting cars in a different way?
See, why we did the diesel rocket, I explained it to you that the intent was diesel is a dirty fuel. You've got a premium car in a dirty fuel, and you want to give the brand a language that people like you and I can start using and start referring to the car, because the minute you start getting personal with an object like a car, we know that you're in love with it. The minute you're in love with it, we know someday you will buy it. If you don't buy it, someday you're going to recommend it to somebody. Okay? So for that, it's very important that the brand has a language which people can pick up and start using. Conversational language. So instead of something going just one way from a manufacturer to a consumer in terms of advertising, if I can help them with a language that they can pick up and they can start using it in their conversations, well, my job's done. And that's what diesel rocket did for us. Especially for a state like Punjab, those of you who are Indians would understand that that state is very, very oriented around power. That state is extremely oriented around diesel fuel. Majority of the cars that sell in that state were diesel. And it's important that without diluting your brand image, you actually establish your diesel image there. And when we did the diesel rocket, all the Punjabis came back and said, "Balle balle, I got a diesel rocket." So that really helped us. Hands off was a communication essentially meant for those people who wanted to spend more and get to an automatic cruise. Okay. And again, as I said, this language was not meant for everyone. This language was not meant for the masses. Okay. It was going to the relevant TG. It wasn't meant for the masses. So there were people who said, "Oh, I don't understand your advertising." And we didn't tell them, but we said, "Well, you're not our TG. So if you don't understand my advertising, I don't want you."
So that's what I said, that you are positioning a completely different way for different customers.
Yes.
I mean, your car.
Absolutely. But if you look at the cruise, it's got the same brand language.
Same brand.
As a cruise brand, it's got the same language. For an automatic, it's got a different language. Those who will understand it are my people who I want in my store.
Yes.
There was a question at the back. Yes.
I think you mentioned that there were no advertisements, TV advertisements about cruise.
Till about 6 months ago.
I've
Not
seen-
6 months, October
I've seen a
2012.
couple of advertisements about cruise on television, Indian television.
Which ad did you see?
There's the father and son ad.
That is not the cruise ad.
That's Optra, I think.
No. The father and son ad was the beat.
The 3 years for
The cruise is just parked in the drive-in.
No, there's the father and son ad where he drives the cruise in an Formula 1 circuit.
That's the only one that came in October 2012. That's what I said. Till October 2012, we did not have an ad. For 3 years.
Why did the cruise focus on doing that?
Why did we focus on doing that?
Not on bringing a TV advertisement.
We didn't feel the need to bring a TV advertisement for 3 years. Why we felt the need to bring an ad on TV was because without changing the exterior look of the car, we changed something. And you know what we changed? We brought in a new engine and a transmission on it. We brought a 165 bhp engine on it with a 6-speed transmission. So the car suddenly became more powerful. Okay? But there were no visual changes on the car. So when we had a challenge on our hand that you had to go and tell the people that you have a car which is not visually changed, but suddenly it's got more steam in it. It's got 165 bhp on the tap instead of 150. You got a new transmission. What we did was, again to keep it fairly exclusive, we went and shot that car on the VIC track. Okay, that ad was shot at the VIC track at Greater Noida, and we packaged that ad in such a way that it's a father and son who are essentially racing each other, and it's the little son who always poses the challenge, because understand human psyche and understand Indian consumers. Normally in India and most other cultures, it's always the father that a little son will look up to. Okay, fathers and sons always go with cars. Okay, they will always, you will speak to your dad, I would speak to my dad, my son speaks to me, maybe both of us are mad because both of us are car guys, but my son would always speak to me about cars. He would always look at a car in the street and ask me what is it and how big is it and how powerful is it. And little kids throw challenges to their dads. And a successful dad is that dad who actually accepts the challenge and goes and proves him, okay, that things are doable, because that's how dads set benchmarks for their sons. Okay, that someday you will beat this benchmark and be better than I am, and that's exactly what that dad's doing on the track. At the end of the race, they both go and have a high five, and the dad asks him, "What's next?" Because he knows exactly what's happening. And
Wasn't there another advertisement a couple of years ago where a gang of young boys visit the Chevy showroom and they buy the car using credit?
It was a viral, which was never really put on air. It was a viral that went on the websites. There were 4 boys in there.
Yeah.
That's the ad you're referring to.
Did something?
Yeah, that was a viral. That was not an ad. That was just essentially a viral that was done at the time of the launch. Not an ad that went on television. But what we did in October 2012 was the father and son. And from the same father and son, we did the donuts ad, which was basically nothing but power imagery for the car. But you seem to follow Cruise very closely.
Yeah, since it's launched till now.
Good. I'm glad. glad because that's how. You
But
know.
I didn't buy it.
No problem. I said right in the beginning, if you follow it, someday you'll buy it, but you know it all.
You never know.
So you'll tell the people around you, which is good. Any other questions?
So
Yes.
I have a question. So, and this perhaps relates to Raghavendra as well when he comes through. You know, social media marketing is the thing to do now. How much of that is applicable to luxury brands, and did you use that specifically?
Well, yes. Out of my total advertising spends, I use about 20% of my total advertising spends on social media, which is a significant chunk when it comes to total advertising money on the brand tools. And that's always used throughout the year. So you don't, especially when we did the Back in Black campaign, we went completely digital and print. We just used digital and print throughout. So it was almost about 40% spends went on digital and about 60% went on print. We did not do any television. And I can tell you, it brings fantastic results because you can actually go razor sharp in your targeting for your audience on digital, which is fairly kind of widespread on print. You can't really control that. But on digital, you can actually go razor sharp and you can measure what they are doing with you, what they are, which page they are visiting, how much amount of time are they spending on which particular page. So you understand what language they have. And the minute you have any kind of interactive form of messaging on the Facebook or your own website, they come back and they tell you things which are deep, insightful things, and you can go back and really use those things in terms of education and training for your sales inside the shop. So that when those consumers come into the shop, you're really able to handle them. You can actually convert the cars so quickly. You can convert a lead to a sale so quickly. But it's extremely important. That's a very, very valid point.
I have another question.
Sure.
You know, what's kept me away from luxury cars generally is the lack of roads.
Lack of roads.
Right? I mean, it's fantastic to have a messaging of performance and power and stuff, but you know, you can't really use that performance for any beneficial. I think the only exception that I felt today is, 2 weeks ago, driving on that Yamuna Expressway out to. So, you know, my point simply being, you're selling performance, but at some point your customer, unless it's always aspirational and you know an emotional connect, but at some point your customer is going to come back and say, yeah, you know, the salesman told me this was 165 bhp, but you know, I'm driving in line with a marketing, right? So, do you think that is something that you guys are seeing now, or is it still aspirational?
You'll never see it.
You'll never see that.
You'll never see it. I'll tell you why. This is one country which is selling one of the highest numbers of Audis. Audi is stripping BMW today in terms of numbers that they sell. We've got a car that can compete very well with the BMW 3 Series in its current avatar. This country sells a large numbers of Lamborghinis and Porsches and Rolls-Royces which you don't even get to know. We don't even know in which house they are. It's that, I would say, love for that machine. It's that love for that performance. You can't do it every day, okay? But that one day that you can, you want it, okay? It's sheer indulgence. You want it. For that 1 hour that you can drive on the expressway, you don't want to be seen in a car that you step on the gas, you change gears, and it still won't move. You want a car where you still in your overdrive, you step on the gas, and it just goes. For that moment, people want it. And I don't think for any of the luxury goods, they become fairly mass, so much mass that the aspiration for them starts dying. People will always go for it. I have that strong belief. People will always go. And that's one reason why in this market you see luxury goods are just taking off. It hasn't yet reached that, I would say, tipping point, and that is way away before people can actually start saying, oh, I can't use it, I won't buy it. It's not used. It's pleasure, it's something which is sinful in your mind that helps you go run by a Ferrari or an Audi R8 or Maserati, or totally sedan, a cruise, so that when you just step on the gas and burn some rubber, it's just that thrill. You don't look for the fuel efficiency. It's just that thrill.
Sir, can I have one more question?
Yeah.
Sir, you talked about that Cruise was the one in winning the championship and continuously for the years. So when we talk about that championship and all, what matters more is that power. We go for power. So how are you relating that power? I mean, when is the car is not in a race, I mean, when it's going on a road, I mean, it's driving by the particular class of people. How are you relating that power with the luxury? I mean, how are you relating both?
See, essentially what we did was all of that was done, which was in a lineup to our Back in Black campaign, and that's what I was trying to share with you, which is the Action Heroes campaign that we had. Till then, we were just basically talking about the power of the car, the safety of the car, the insights, the luxury of the car. And that this is the time when we came out and we said the cars we race on the tracks are the cars you buy. And that's when we brought this ad out that these are the action heroes. That you can actually enjoy the luxury of the car with the performance of the car. Because the truth in the category was that cars that were luxurious were not performance oriented,
yes,
and performance cars were not luxurious.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm asking. That how you are relating that
with the Back in Black campaign.
With the Back in Black.
Yeah. Where you showed the engine. Remember, we chopped off everything. We showed the engine, we showed the interiors of the car, and we said it's power and luxury. So it was a visual connotation of power and luxury. We didn't say it. We said Back in Black, and people were just referring to what's Back in Black, and the black stuff was all interiors. And the next thing was to draw people into the showrooms. We put a red car in the ad, and we said Back in Black, and that just suddenly put massive question marks in people's heads, and they just started calling up the showrooms, and the bell started ringing in the showrooms that you've got a red car, you're saying Back in Black. What is it? Yeah?
Which is Chevrolet's next coming.
We've just launched the sale. You would have seen the ad today. If you haven't seen it today, get into the showrooms. It's a very interesting car. It's a sedan.